That's a privilege. It's a privilege to be able to let your children comfortably engage in the fantasy of being Superman and Spider-Man and not have to color the pictures. To be able to buy a Band-Aid that is flesh-colored and not have to worry about it, stick it all on your flesh as Nellis does on his nose. The idea that you know who Nelly is, it's getting hot in here. But the idea to be able to comfortably let your children go to church and have images of the divine that look like them. To have your children learn the images of God and his mother and his companions and not have to alter the presentation and let the child feel included in the worship experience. That's privilege. It's privilege to somehow actually sit down from almost the day of birth and assume that the Son of God looks just like you. Pale skin, auburn hair, blue eyes, blowing in the wind, and therefore this person who is the Son of God is just like you. Not only is the Son of God just like you, his mother, wonderful virgin that she is, looks just like your daughter, your mama, your wife, your sisters, and all the other nice little white women in your world. And to not have to deal with the imposed suggestion that if the son and mother of God looks like this, where am I in the picture? To be able to go and to celebrate the Last Supper and to look at the 12 brothers sitting around the table, and not one brother looks like a brother. I never could understand how they could actually throw a party with food and not even have the brothers bring in some wine or a piece of cornbread. Leonardo da Vinci, why couldn't you please just have a brother peeping around the curtain with a bottle of Chianti in a paper bag? Just that presence alone would have given me a sense, say, of inclusion that permitted me to do otherwise. Images such as that permit people to grow up and feel confident in declaring who is the axis of evil and who is not. To feel comfortable in declaring their God-given right to do whatever they damn well please. The presumption of a deified possibility and a particular mission given by God only because they have the privilege of being white. If you are white, you have the privilege of not having to know W.B. Du Bois, to not be able to know Harriet Tubman, to not have to deal with the reality of knowing who Marcus Garvey was, to somehow think that Martin Luther King was only a dreaming person, to be able to believe that you are doing something worthwhile if you know who Booker T. Washington was on one day in February. To be white privilege is not having to worry about having images of Malcolm X in your home, not having the presence of Mary McLeod Bethune as a way of instructing independence, autonomy, to not be able to engage in understanding Africa as the source and the foundation of civilized life on this planet. Being white permits you to talk about paranoia as a mental disorder and to not have to deal with the possibility that paranoia is an accurate assessment of reality. White privilege permits you to have a situational conscience that you can change the values whenever you please, change the rules of the game when you must find yourself losing the game. If you happen to be in Florida and find yourself losing the game, just go to Washington and ask some white man what to do, and they make your man the boss. You can win even after you've lost if you know how to change the rules. And the rules are changing all the time. And that's a consequence of white privilege. White privilege permits you to be uncritiqued. You can critique everybody on the planet, but no one has the right to critique you because you are the originator. You are the beginning. You are the only superpower. You are the privileged, the chosen ones. And in doing so, there is nobody on the planet who has a right to critique you. White privilege taken to its logical conclusion gives us the activities of this day that began on March 17th and will continue to ends which we know not at this point. White privilege can permit you to say to the UN, you don't matter to me. I do what I damn please. How dare you question my right to do what I've defined as my priority? Even though the very existence of you as an institution is a consequence of my defining earlier rules and defining the form of the world should be, my presumption to decide what was a nation, who should be in the United Nations, and who should have the power to disagree and therefore veto the decisions of the operation. And as long as you operated with me and my sense of white privilege, you were a viable organization. But when you disagreed with me, I simply changed the rules and do just what I please. White privilege permits you to define crazy white people as an exception, and to claim that Trent Lott is not like most of us. He is an exception. He's a peculiarity. David Duke is a strange phenomenon. To somehow claim that these utterly bizarre people who often articulate the ideology that's being taught in all of the institutions of the white privileged environment are somehow viewed as being exceptions when they say what everybody else is thinking. That's a privilege that goes with being white. And you can then claim that the real white people are like me, one single individual slugging away at impossible realities, hated by my mama, hated by my father, hated by my boss, hated by my instructor, not having credibility in my own environments because I dare to raise questions about the contradiction of the very things they taught me. And to claim then that that's typical. When you know yourself, those of you who are here today, you know that you are strange white people. You are extraordinary white people. You are not typical white people. In fact, most white people would see you as being totally insane for even being present to listen to a crazy person like Naim Akbar say what he's saying today. You know I'm telling the truth. But it's a privilege to somehow believe that this is the way we really are. This is the true American reality. No, 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 no. That's a privilege that you have to deny the fact that most of America is more like W than they are unlike W. And that's a painful truth, but that's the American way. That's white privilege. Now, leave white folks alone. There is another phenomenon. Paul helped me find this last night. Something came to me. I was hungry, and you noticed I have a little trouble getting up here. I'm having some arthritic problems in my hips. And I don't feel like getting around very much. And so I wanted to eat. I always want to eat. That's why I know I'm still well. But I didn't want to go out